And thanks, Amanda.
Thank you so much. I'm really pleased to be here. And I'm actually going to ask people to raise their hand for a couple things. So I just wanted to also clarify that if you want to get that panel on the side of your screen where you raise your hand, I think first you click on the participants button at the bottom of your screen. And then, well, let's see, I'm trying to do it right now. Yeah, and then there's a raise hand button in gray on the right side. So I'm going to try to make it interactive by asking people to raise their hands. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen now so you can follow along on the slides with me. Let's see. Okay. Okay, let's hope this works with the, okay. Let's see. Excellent. Okay, does everybody see this in full screen mode?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. So as Christine said, my name is Amanda Vogel. I'm a contractor at the National Cancer Institute, which is part of the NIH. And my employer is Leidos Biomed. I'm also the first membership chair for our new professional society called InScits. And I'll be the membership chair this year and next year. And if you'd like to email me, that's my email address at the bottom, membership@insights.org. And above that is the website for the professional society. So just to give you a little bit of an overview so you know where we're heading in this hour, the talk will be the first half, I think, and the second half will be discussion. I'll start out by talking about our new professional society. It's called InScits, the International Network for the Science of Team Science. And I'll give some background on the fields that are involved with InScits and some overview of the goals of the society and the benefits of membership. And then Christine will be talking about how InScits and Intereach are connecting organizationally. And then we'll have some discussion with you. So this is an outline of what I'll be addressing in my part of the talk. I'll provide a little bit of an introduction to team science in the SIGS field. SIGS stands for Science of Team Science. That's just to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of what those terms mean, because I'll be using them a lot. I'll talk about the annual conference and the new professional society, and I'll home in on membership benefits, particularly our special interest groups. And then Christine will speak specifically about the Intereach special interest group, and we'll have discussion. So to pull back the lens and provide some context, why team science? Why do we have a focus on team science in the SIGS field and InScits? For the last few decades, investments in team approaches to science have been growing, and that's at the federal funding level, among private funders, academic institutions, investigators, and it's all motivated by this shared goal to attempt to advance scientific inquiry into really complex problems that require complex solutions, and to be able to address these problems in a more holistic way that include treatment of the multi-level and multifactorial interacting influences on what that problem is. And in order to do this effectively, groups are pulling together teams of investigators who have a broad range of relevant expertise to addressing the problem. An example of this is the push toward translational science, which aims to integrate expertise from basic science to applied to real-world applications outside of the scientific space to attempt to address societal problems. In the early days of the SIGS field, the term team science was used synonymously with the concept of large, complex, structured, collaborative initiatives. We've moved away from that, and now there's a consensus building to define team science as two or more scientists working interdependently toward this shared goal. And the key word there is interdependently. So what's become clear as we've developed evidence around what works in team science is that it's relevant to a whole range of science teams, including teams of just 2 individuals, that effective practices for collaboration are effective practices for collaboration. And so we now define team science this broadly, and this slide just depicts that breadth. So that's Watson and Crick next to the thousands of people working at the Large Hadron Collider. There are teams that span disciplines and are within disciplines, like that map on the upper right, teams that are co-located and spread around the globe. In 2015, the National Academies put out a report called Enhancing the Effectiveness of Team Science. And they broke down some of what makes team science complex and what has motivated the SIGS field. And this slide highlights what they called the complexity dimensions of team science. So they highlighted these 7 dimensions: diversity, disciplinary integration, the size of the team, whether the participants are co-located or distributed, their goal alignment, scientifically, professionally, other goals, the team boundaries in terms of the membership, and the interdependence of the tasks of the members on the team. And they discussed how these are the factors that need to be addressed and managed in order to ensure the effectiveness, or at least maximize the effectiveness of the team. And the key message of this slide is that teams vary on each of these 7 dimensions, and that means that each team has its own unique profile. That profile creates unique challenges and unique strengths. So there is no one recipe for success in a team. And we have to consider what combination of approaches will be most effective given a team's characteristics on the spectrum. In addition to those factors, which, as you may have noticed, really focused on the team exclusively, there's this whole range of multi-level contextual influences on what makes for effective team science. So it ranges from intrapersonal factors like attitudes around interdisciplinarity and collaboration, interpersonal factors like whether members of the team have collaborated together before and how that went, organizational factors like whether there are cross-disciplinary, cross-departmental centers in an academic institution, what promotion and tenure policies look like, and whether those facilitate or undermine efforts toward collaboration, technological factors like interoperability, societal factors like funding announcements for team science, and the built environment like the physical spaces that people collaborate in. A main focus of the SIGS field for a number of years has been the influence of disciplinary integration on team functioning and how we might implement strategies for success to maximize the value and minimize the challenges of disciplinary integration. And some of you may have seen this slide before. It's very popular, and there's this heuristic where you can think of unidisciplinary teams like a piece of fruit, multidisciplinary like a basket of fruit, and transdisciplinary teams that aim to integrate disciplinary perspectives like a smoothie. And you can imagine that if you're making the smoothie without the right equipment, without the right strategies for success, it's not going to go as well. Right? And so this is, one of these, again, motivating factors for thinking about what works in team science. So based on this drive toward proliferation of science teams, because of our scientific goals, and this building understanding of what factors influence the effectiveness of those teams, a field of study has developed, and it's called the science of team science. It's a cross-disciplinary field that draws from a range of disciplines contributing to the evidence base. And it aims to do 2 things. The one is to conduct research to build the evidence for what effective team science looks like, including strategies for conducting, participating in team science, also facilitating it, like this community, managing it, administering it, and also funding and evaluating, and to develop translational applications that are real-world tools to help people put the evidence into practice with the ultimate goal of eventually advancing the science that these teams produce. So, okay, now here's my, my attempt at being interactive on here. So I'm wondering if folks can raise their hand if they had heard of the SIGS field before this talk. And I'm going to see if I can look. So, okay, so I don't think that I can share my screen without, oh, here we go. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I'm looking, and it looks like about a third heard of the SIGS field before this talk, or a third have figured out how to raise their hand. Okay, this is helpful for me as I continue. Okay, and let's see. Okay, so here's a timeline of some key events in the SIGS field. So a lot of folks peg the start of the SIGS field to 2006, which was the first conference on team science and the SIGS field that was hosted at the National Cancer Institute where I work, and that was 2006. And this provides a timeline of events. And what you can see is that our conference has been held annually since 2010. Last year, the new InScits Professional Society was launched. And another key landmark last year was that a number of us co-authored a review of the empirical literature on science teams, which means we looked at a decade of experimental research studies of science teams and summarized the findings in this article in American Psychologist. During this 15 years or so, many people have also been developing very practical tools to help facilitate the success of science teams. And these are some screenshots of a few of the tools, and they sort of range the gamut across, you could think of like the lifespan of science teams. So for example, the Welcome to My Letter tool that's in the middle, the Journal of Translational Medicine and Epi, is for new members of a team. The Team Science Field Guide provides guidance for the whole life cycle of a team. And in the bottom left, teamscience.net is a training resource online for people at any career stage who are interested in getting training in team science. So just a few examples from this slide. All of these are available on the Team Science Toolkit, and that website is listed at the top of this slide, teamsciencetoolkit.cancer.gov, and you can see a screenshot at the bottom right corner of the slide. Okay, so now I want to turn to talking about the conference. So this is the annual conference. It's been happening since 2010. It's the only U.S. conference dedicated to the science of team science field. And what's really unique about the conference is that it's not isolated to academics studying teams. And in part, that's because so many people are participating in science teams and also studying them. And in part, it's because of the really practical and applied nature of the community. So when you attend the conference, for folks who've attended, you'll know this, there is a really wide mix of folks. So there are people we call team science practitioners, and that would be folks like you, the Intereach community, research development professionals, also called RDPs, academic administrators, funders, folks participating in science teams, and also scholars from a broad range of disciplines and fields that are contributing to the evidence base. So folks who are studying science teams or studying other forms of teams with relevant knowledge to bring to team science. The conference travels, and it's been hosted by institutions around the country. The next conference is going to be in May. It's coming up soon. It's hosted by Michigan State University in Lansing, Michigan. The registration will open next week, from what I understand. For those who have attended the conference in the past, there will be new features this year which reflect the new professional society that's now integrating with the conference. And these are activities that are provided through the Society's membership committee and through the hosts this year for the conference. The conference runs Monday to Thursday. Monday is workshops, which are optional. Monday night, we'll be having a networking dinner that's open to anybody who attends. On Tuesday, we're going to have a double lunch hour, which will provide, I think it's like 2.5 hour lunch, which will provide time for special interest groups to meet either before or over lunch. And while the special interest groups are comprised of members from InScits, at the conference, anybody who attends the conference is welcome to join any special interest group meeting. And then the following day, we'll be enabling continued discussion based on informal networking, special interest groups, whatever people want. So we'll have unstructured time for collaboration around shared interests. We're calling it the Unconference. There will be a Slack feed that's active for the entire conference where folks can put forward their ideas and develop connections to for that unstructured time. And now I'd like to turn to the Society. So we launched InScits, the International Network for the Science of Team Science, at the conference last year, so it's not quite a year old. It's the membership society for all stakeholders in team science and the SIGS field, so all the folks who I mentioned who attend the conference. The motivation for creating InScits was that it creates sustainability and continuity, both for the conference and for the field, the Science of Team Science field. It ensures the conference has an annual home and financial support, and it facilitates the growth and development of the field. And it does this in a few ways: community building, advancing work on key scientific priority areas through the SIGS, and creating multiple leadership opportunities for folks who are within the field to help direct it, participate in that leadership. The executive board was announced at the SIGS meeting last year, and these are their photos. Maritza Salazar is the president. Guy Lotrecchiano is president-elect. He'll be taking over next. Kevin Wooten is treasurer, and Holly Falk-Krasinski is secretary. And you might, if you're a participant also in NORDIP, you might know Holly. She participated in standing up NORDIP, the National Organization for Research Development Professionals. This is our full board of directors, and this is representative of the fact that we're creating a lot of leadership opportunities, a lot of our opportunities to participate and guide the organization. These individuals all submitted applications for consideration to serve on the board. They each applied last year, and they're serving terms of various lengths so that we'll have people rotating on and off the board in a staggered manner, which will ensure that new opportunities for leadership come up, and that we always have a number of people on the board who have a great deal of experience, and we always have some new folks rotating. And I noticed some of the board members are on this, this call. So like I noticed, for example, Pip is here. So feel free when we get to Q&A to participate and share anything that I've missed that you feel is important to get to. Membership. Okay, so since the conference last year, we developed our membership levels and benefits. And for those who are members of other professional societies, this should look pretty familiar. That first row shows our 4 membership levels. The transitional membership is for people who have recently been students or trainees. The retiree is actually, this should say retiree or emeritus, that's a typo. So that includes folks who are in emeritus status. The benefits of membership are a reduced conference registration fee, which in fact ends up zeroing out the membership fee for students and creating a nominal fee for the transitional members and producing a discount for the retirees and emeritus. So that reduction really just, you know, it compensates completely for the membership fee. for the students, and then just a little bit on either side of that for the other groups. Other benefits: any member can join, create, or chair a special interest group. And our website currently has a tab about special interest groups where you can see what the current groups are, get more information, and see the guidelines for proposing a new special interest group. And you can self-nominate or nominate someone else as a chair. You have the option to join the member directory, and there will be a number of member networking and collaboration formation opportunities based on the directory, which will be planned for the next year or two. Of course, there's resume enhancement and the opportunity to participate in InScits, including serving as an officer, as a SIG chair, as a committee member, voting for officers, etc. And everyone who joins in our first 2 years, 2019 and 2020, since we've launched membership this week, the registration form is available. All folks who join this year and next year will be recognized as founding members, and that information will be publicized. Okay, so the goals of the special interest groups. They aim to provide a home within a home for members of the society, with the idea that they will help people connect with colleagues who have shared interests and activities. The special interest groups are member-led. That means the topics are proposed by members, the chairs and members of the special interest groups are InScits members, their activities are driven by the group, etc. We have 5 active SIGs that will be having their inaugural meetings of the SIGs at the conference in May, and this is the list. Change in the Academy to foster team science success focuses on restructuring and changing policies to foster team science. Incubator Spaces focuses on forming and facilitating the early success of new science teams. Team science training addresses training in the educational context and across career stages. Scientometrics and data analytics includes such methods as bibliometrics and network analysis, and there's Intereach. On the InScits website, you can find all of the information I shared about membership and much more, including testimonials by early members. We've had maybe 20 folks sign up in our test period before the official launch. And on the SIGs page, there's a description of the content of each SIG. So I have 2 more slides to wrap up, and then I'll shift over, I'll pass the baton to Christine. I wanted just to provide some examples of SIG objectives and activities to give you a sense of what these groups can accomplish. So as I said, we're seeing the SIGs as driving collaboration, networking, and the potential to advance effective practices in team science across SIG members and beyond. So here are some objectives: facilitating networking and collaboration, aligning projects, providing mentoring, sharing resources, engaging in collective inquiry and problem solving, developing leadership opportunities, and accelerating scholarship on the topic of the SIG. Activities might be developing evidence-based tools, implementing them in real-world settings, developing a research agenda for your topic, collaborating on research, submitting proposals for conference sessions, and other scholarship. And now I want to transition to Christine, who will be focusing on the Intereach SIG. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay, Christine, do you want to share from your screen now?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. Let's see. Oh, it has, I see it has several fail safes, so you can't accidentally pre-share. That's probably good. So, okay, I went through. You see it now, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Amanda. That was such a good, useful overview and a really perfect segue because one of the big reasons, as we'll talk about just in the next few minutes here, for associating Intereach, this community that we have built here as a SIG of the InScits organization, is exactly because we're going to be able to, I think, do so much more to expand the objectives and the activities that you just showed on the last couple of slides. It's our hope that we'll be able to kind of take on more of those and really fold in the views and the goals of more people, because we, as we'll talk about, created this community to definitely be of this kind of kindred person and for us. So who are we? I won't go over in a great detail the history of this because a couple of our early webinars did that. So I would refer everybody to the I2S Insights blog, to the Intereach website where you can look at our archived webinars, and you can look at some of those early ones. But some of this does bear kind of explanation. So we formed Intereach, which was intentionally a new word because it was intended to be inclusive of a lot of already existing expertise and types of roles. So it stands for Interdisciplinary Integration Research Careers Hub, and it's intended to be a community of practice for people who are really in roles that are, the primary role is dedicated to expertise in boundary spanning, knowledge creation at the interstitial points on teams, and kind of establishing career paths for those people where that's the primary job function. So our group, I'm up here, you know, with my face and on the website, but it was stood up by a number of different people who we all found each other at the Science of Team Science conference, I think starting in like 2013, and started to see, oh, these are my people. We are practitioners of this stuff that all these great organizational psychologists and people in all these different fields, business and sociology, all of these people are studying what it is that we're trying to do with tacit knowledge and intuition, that we have this sense that we could be doing more methodologically with best practices if we just had colleagues and really established more as a discipline. And so it was delightful to find each other and to say some of our challenges are similar too. So the challenges being a lack of established career path in some cases, and maybe just a lack of awareness of a lot of the resources out there. So one of the first things I should say, as we kind of formulated what our particular goal was going to be as a community of practice, is that we in no way think that we are putting a flag on the moon. We have joined the moon when flags were put there by, for example, starting in, I believe, 1978, AIS, the Association of Interdisciplinary Studies, has been really codifying methods around interdisciplinary work and scholarship and research. There are many other organizations that I'm still learning them, Transdisciplinary Society and others. Forgive me if this is going to go on the webinar archives and I've said those wrong, but basically we are trying to gather all of the best wisdom for people who are on the ground doing this work and take advantage of all the expertise that's been gathered. And so we're committed to, as SIGS is, committed to evidence-based approaches for conducting, evaluating, and sharing effective team research on complex interdisciplinary problems. That's how I think of InScits and the SIGS conference. We at Intereach are also focused on that exact thing, but in particular, people who are focused on career paths that are intentionally built around what we call being the arrow in these complex interdisciplinary research projects. So roles enabled to dedicating this interdisciplinary research are more common than you would think, but often not something that a person can intentionally aim for. So our two goals in the Intereach community and SIG in general are to articulate promote the need for this dedicated career path around interdisciplinary research expertise, and then to develop and improve practitioners' toolkits for best practices, success metrics, and career trajectories. One of the early ways that we discovered how much work had been done was realizing, okay, so there's some of us who find ourselves in these positions, and very generously, when I gave my first talk on this concept, I just said, hey, does anyone else know of words for careers like this? And Gabrielle Bammer, who wrote Disciplining Interdisciplinary, which is an excellent book. You can get it for free. It's open access on the internet. Suggested, oh yeah, I've done some thinking about this. About 4 chapters of my book are on the topic. And I've always pointed to that example as somebody who is truly welcoming and happy to rise all boats with a rising tide that she helped start. So instead of saying, I already did that, she said, great, you thought of it too. Maybe these 4 chapters can help you in standing up what you're trying to do. So just we wanted to kind of create this as a community for a way to keep that culture going and extend it. So examples of our goals as a community as we started are developing the profession and professional development. And in typical Holly Falk-Krasinski style, she was able to distill all the things we were talking about into those 2 kind of pithy complementary bullets. So developing the profession is doing things like making the case for these needs to people who need to fund it, whether it's funding agencies or university administration. And this can also be showcasing example roles. So where has this worked? Where has it been successful? The profession of Intereach, we think of Intereach as an umbrella, not the name for a job. So this could include I2S specialists, and that's Gabrielle Bammer's proposed and successful academic discipline. It's a traditional academic discipline of integration and implementation science specialists. IESs, which is the more administrative kind of hybrid role, stands for interdisciplinary executive scientists, and RDPs, so research development professionals. So there could be others as well, but these are different named roles that might all be active at these intersections. And then professional development is how do we create the methods so that we can stand up the theory, the methods, the publications, so that we can be recognized and supported and understood, really. It's not that people don't want to support us, but we need to make it clear what people can expect from people who are doing these types of roles. So sharing effective best practices, tools, methods, training, taking advantage of a lot of these things. I am seeing that there's a chat, so I wonder if I should see. Oh, okay. Oh, it was just a polite mute message. I didn't want to skip over anyone's questions. And so in service of both of these kind of dual missions for Intereach are also other things that are really important in order to enable that. So things like evaluation and metrics. How do we tell if people are doing well at this interstitial role? And then hiring, promotion, and tenure. How do we make this not only a career trajectory that's possible, but one that is not as risky, to be honest, as it is now to try to go into without the infrastructure to recognize and move it forward. Okay, so these are some just quick questions. How do folks in the Intereach community fit into the SIGS community? And the answer to that is really an origin story, really. Most of the people that are in the Intereach community came to it through our SIGS Team Science meetings. And how are they unique is something that I've covered a little bit just in saying that we welcome anyone who's interested in these skill sets and these important ways to impart methods and theory around spanning boundaries, but they're unique in that these are people working on the problem of creating an established career trajectory in a variety of different places. Types of members, as I said, could include I2S, IES, RDP, but I also could imagine that it would be something that maybe people who are interested in more of the theory and research side could look into. So we would welcome, for example, somebody in organizational psychology or anyone in a field that is interested in how this all happens. What are the characteristics and habits of people who are able to do this, and what are their challenges, and what are the big trainings that people in these roles really need to look for? What role do they usually play in a proposal? Something as simple as that. We're kind of dealing at all of those different levels. So the activities of the Intereach community so far, and I keep saying that because it's not a list of what we can do, it's just what we have done, is to meet annually at the Science of Team Science Conference. And we've been doing this by, in previous years, having workshops where we kind of help self-define, stand up a website, distill our missions. And then we've been doing this webinar series throughout the year. And I think this will be our third year of doing a webinar series, which is really intended to just be an ongoing conference and conversation. So anyone can come and bring something. As Christine Glauber mentioned at the beginning, we're always open for you to reach out and contact us. So if you want to get involved in the webinar series leadership and Intereach leadership, obviously reach out. Or if you just have an idea for something that you would like to see talked about, or something that you've read, or just always please feel free to suggest those, because that's kind of how we keep our conversation up. And then our open listserv that we have all the time, you can suggest resources, share job opportunities. It's open for people to contribute or ask how they would like to. The other thing is that we do have a website, and it is www.intereach.org. Probably most of you know this, but I'm not going to, I'm always a big fan of telling things exactly in the simplest terms possible. We just made this on PowerPoint and in Squarespace, at my desk with, emails back and forth. What do you think? So this is just what a few people thought to get the ball rolling. And the reason that I say that is not to minimize it, because one, just a little bit of work has created a lot of content that we can use, and has been really effective in making a community happen. So that's on the positive side. And then on the opportunity side, there's a lot more that can be done. We've got a resources page. It can go to a lot more places. So some of the activities, if the membership decides, could be building those things out to be more robust. Sorry, real life. I have to figure out how to, okay, great. No conference call right now. So why connect at this point Intereach with the InScits organization as a special interest group? This is probably clear, but not only was it the birthplace of Intereach and a kind of a perfect gathering place for the flock of different people, but it's also just a fantastic opportunity to connect in with the incredible momentum that this community of people has created, and the infrastructure and the carefulness and the reliability of showing up year after year. I know Amanda was mentioning that InScits is the new professional organization, and that's so exciting. But what's also amazing is that this annual meeting persisted for 8-9 years without a professional organization, just based on the gumption and volunteerism of the people that care about this community. So that's fantastic. We want to be connected. We want to be able to utilize the growth in membership, project leadership, resources, and really our ability to be inclusive of other people's voices and desires for what they want the community to do. And also institutionalization. So right now I mentioned a lot of individual people's names that have been involved with Intereach. So myself, Christine Glauber, Karen Demby, Amanda McMillan, Pips Veazey, Matt Hotze. At the very beginning, Gabrielle Bammer and Holly Krasinski were incredibly helpful in helping us get started. But all those people are individuals, and what we would like is for this organization to be beyond individual names and to live on as a community for people who want to make this role into something sustainable, attainable, and really something that you can set your sights on in college. I want to be one of those and then go and be it. So I think that might be my last slide. It sure is. Anyway, as usual, I talked a little bit longer than I meant to, but I am so happy to see new names on the participants list, and hope that you'll be excited to join Intereach if this pertains to you, or point others our way. And we're really just thrilled to be together as a SIG of the InScits organization. Thanks, everybody.
So now we want to open it up for discussion. Oops. Okay. Well, we'll just, oh, great. Thank you. So, you know, Christine asked some questions and provided answers, but if folks have additional questions about Intereach, that might be a good place to start. And some other questions we have for you are on this slide. We want to know, how can the Intereach SIG and the InScits Professional Society serve your needs and interests? And what would you like to see from the conference? And we're obviously happy to take questions about anything we said.
Amanda, I have a question. This is Christine Glauber again. And this is just kind of bouncing off a question that Christine Hendren had posed in the chat. And we are part of the Duke CTSA. And so I'm curious if any of the other special interest groups are have any particular focus about regard to the CTSAs.
Yeah, so at last year's conference, the CTSAs had their own social sponsored dinner. So we didn't want to duplicate the CTSA's team science subgroup. I know it used to be called a key functioning committee, and it's not called that anymore.
I think they're called cores now.
Thank you. Okay, so we didn't want to duplicate. But the conference has been home to CTSA specific activities. We are also collecting information on our membership form about whether individuals are members of CTSAs. So this might be, so let me talk about that, and then let me get back to that. Let me talk about the other SIGs. Okay. We have a SIG called Incubator Spaces for Team Science, and that includes CTSA activities. So many CTSAs have written papers on what they're doing to facilitate new collaborations, and then to nurture them and grow them. And those are the themes of that Incubator Spaces SIG. It's being run by Ellen Fisher. She's an academic leader. I should know this. I think she's a provost. She's a provost or a VP of research. She's at Colorado State University. And she is very invested and knowledgeable about developing new collaborations. So you can find out more about her and the themes for that SIG on our website.
Great, thank you.
So now, okay, so going back to the member benefits. So we are collecting some data on the member registration form that will help us connect people. And one of the things we're doing is to collect information about who is in a CTSA, who's a member, or a CTSA hosting institution, with the idea that we can then share that information with those individuals and they can connect to each other. And you'll see if anyone here chooses to become a member, you'll see that we're asking other information too, for example, around your disciplinary expertise, and then the SIGs that you'd like to sign up for, and we'll be able to then help people connect and network in that way. And mentioning the membership form, our first announcement will go out either Friday or Monday announcing membership, but it is open and ready to use today. And so if you are raring to go, you can go to the InScits website, InScits.org. It's on this slide right here. And if you click on the membership tab, there's a button that will take you to the form. See, okay, I have another question. Okay, I'm specifically interested in the role of teams in cancer care delivery. Any suggestions who I should speak to at the NCI? Why don't you email me? My NCI email address is Vogel, A-L, for Amanda Lee, at mail.nih.gov, and I can put you in touch with some folks. And same for anybody else who's interested in teams in cancer care delivery.
Amanda and Christine, this is Pips. Thank you for a great presentation. I think you just both represent so much the kind of the openness and encouragement that I have felt from our community since I first bumped into Christine a number of years ago, and I just wanted to encourage everybody to come to the conference in Michigan this May. It sounds like things are going to be things are looking really good, and we've got some great speakers and good sessions. And I've always been inspired by that. You know, when you go to a meeting, you feel like you've found your people, and I definitely found that at this meeting, and it's really broad, and just felt like everybody was really encouraging, and I think the two of you represent that so well, and you're so you speak to that so nicely. So thank you for the presentation today, and hopefully everybody on the call is interested in the conference. It's a really wonderful way to meet people. There's all sorts of connections that I have made through attending the conference, and I'm looking forward to this one this year too. So thank you both, and yeah, best of luck for the rest of the semester, and looking forward to seeing you in Michigan.
Thank you, Pips. I have to say, I think Pips, you are probably a huge reason this forum, started, the momentum toward it started, because I still remember so clearly when you ran up to me and you said, 3 people have told us we should meet each other. And we had both been told this by others. And then we thought, oh, there's 2 of us. And then there's many, many more of us. So that excitement is always so fun at that meeting. If anyone has questions about or feedback, critical or otherwise, about how the role of particularly Intereach as a SIG, or something that's not clear, please feel free to send me that by email or to the Intereach listserv, and feel free to share. Amanda, did you want to? I see that you're seeing chat too. You want to host a discussion on that?
Yeah. So there's a note from Kenan. Over many years trying to bring, let's see, here's another one. Okay. Over many years trying to bring team formats and practices from another industry, tech and engineering, I have not found an open or accessible community in science. Do you know why this would be different? I'm not exactly sure if you're saying you haven't found an accessible community in science broadly or in the SIGS conference. Would you like to expand on that verbally, just so we make sure we understand the question?
Or Kenan, if you're in a place where that's hard and you type, we'll watch as well, and we can represent that. while we're paused to give Kenan a chance to expand, I will say that understood. Sometimes it's not easy. If I am very interested in incentives and how incentive structures are set up at cross purposes with some of our spoken goals. And so I don't know if it's in science generally that you are finding the lack of open accessibility, or if it is in a research environment or science of team science. But often I think that at least in the university setting, sometimes people's rewards are just set up at cross purposes with sharing and integration of ideas, or even really just the time to be spent in what could be a diffuse way that doesn't amount to a bean that comes back into your pile that's going to be counted and determine your success. So often I look to that as the reason, and I think that's why some of the exciting, all right, so it's in meetings that Kenan is sharing. It's been both in the AAAS annual meetings, trying to create crossover events, but also with colleagues that have tried to present at Science of Team Science over the year. This is really interesting.
I can comment a little bit, I think. So I think that all of us in the SIGS field have had this experience actually. So in science, there's this implicit expectation that when you get your PhD and you know that you know how to do all of the things that are involved in the career, like managing a team of colleagues or teaching a course, you know, all of the things that PhD scientists might go on to do, the range of things. But of course, the truth is that we rarely get formalized training in things beyond the actual science. And so that includes a lack of training in what it might mean to collaborate across disciplines, and the need to develop shared understanding, and the need to anticipate challenges in communication and figure out how to address those, just as an example, right? And the whole range of other things. So like, you know, thinking about the little I know about Christine's work, but thinking about managing a range of different disciplines, a range of different organizations, and what that entails. And so, you know, when I've come at this from the place of SIGS scholarship, which was originally rooted in the team here in behavioral science, you know, that itself was completely foreign to the scientists who we were hoping to help, right? If they weren't behavioral scientists, they weren't studying teams. And so there's the need to figure out how to communicate the value to the bottom line goals of the people who you hope to be the consumers of your message. And what we've attempted to do here is to link the messaging around lessons learned around strategies for success or overcoming challenges to actual scientific outcomes. And in the absence of that, or because it's a really sticky thing to look at scientific outcomes because it takes so many years. So in lieu of that, we've also looked at indicators that matter a lot in science. And of course, you know, standard ones are how many publications are you putting out? Where are they getting published? Who's citing them? Are you getting a promotion? And so some of our work that's really helped people listen and clue into what might help them in terms of scientific processes and administration, facilitation, management, funding approaches has been, what's the bottom line added value in those areas? So it could be that my experience with that might be translatable in some ways to trying to message around the value of approaches from other disciplines.
Amanda, I like that that use of that experience in this. And what it makes me think of is it could be interesting to have Kenan and others, like what if we had a short panel called Lost in Translation at SIGS, where it was like, okay, because translate, I think, is such a key part of what you just described. So somebody's not hearing the value because maybe there's signal words that, oh, that sounds like businessy, or whatever the signal is that they're missing of what that added value proposition that you said, Amanda. But I mean, it could be interesting to kind of explore, are there people who've tried to bring their insights, I didn't mean to do that, but to insights, to sites, and felt unheard or not included, but really maybe there's something there that the connection is the problem, not the fit. So maybe we could explore that further. Either we could do an insight or an Intereach webinar on times that there have been disconnects, opportunities lost, or approach, maybe have a lunch about it at InScits in May. I don't know.
Yeah. Hi, this is Kevin here. So just a couple, so InScits is a bit similar to where Science Team Science was previously. There's a group called InGroup, Interdisciplinary Network for Group Research. So they have a couple of functions every year that might be interesting models to consider. One is they force people to meet new people with their dinner. They have assigned seating. And so, yeah, that's just it works. I mean, people meet each other that they want to know. And then the other thing they do is they have a part of the program there is a Friday night, or it's 2 nights or so of conferencing, but one of the nights they have like an informal activity, and that also facilitates people meeting and talking that wouldn't normally do so. So just a couple ideas.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Our networking dinner is modeled on the in-group dinner. They are a wonderful community. And in the chat, I just put the website for in-group and their full name if people want to find out more.
Thank you. Well, I'm checking to see if there are other hands. I do see that we're 2 minutes over, and I'm aware of everybody's time. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today. This was just great to have you, and so grateful that we're going to be connecting Intereach and InScits more formally even than we have been.
Well, we're so pleased to just make this official because, as you said, that Intereach has been meeting at InScits for a few years now and developing this community. And the crowds of people who've attended the Intereach workshop have just been incredible. And it's really great to be able to include you now as a SIG. And I should say just one more thing. I just had a meeting before this with the membership community and our communications director, and that's Andy Hess. She's also a volunteer, part of the board of InScits, and took a look at the online platform for member communications within the membership group. And it's incredible. So each SIG will have a board online and a linked listserv, and it's really user-friendly and easy. The minutes from the SIG meetings will be posted there, links to SIG resources, so like you could link out to your YouTube channel and your website. Twice a year, each SIG will write like a 1 to 2 page report about its activities that will go up there just as a way to summarize and keep the community informed about what they're up to. So it should be a really wonderful resource. And once you're a member, you can look at the SIG resources from across the SIG so you can see what all the SIGs are up to. And it's a way for us to continue the discussion during the year. The way that this group is already doing, now we'll have these other 4 groups and any new SIGs proposed by members that will be doing the same thing.
That's so great. We can cross-pollinate ideas. We're always up for those.